Hello and welcome to Pub Football. We thought we'd come back for Euro 2020. Today, in the first video back, we're going to talk about the England squad. Gareth Southgate due to announce his England squad for the tournament tomorrow, so it's Tuesday. We're filming this on Monday evening. It should be out Monday evening as well. And we're going to have a crack at picking the squad that we think should go. But I think, Jimmy, that at the same time, we try and stick sort of within Southgate-y parameters, sort of a bit free, players we take, but Southgate-y at the same time.
Do we have to? Can we not just go mental and put a load of 18-year-olds in? What's the problem with that?
Pick the youth team. Who's meant to go to the under-21s Euros next month? Take them all.
Yeah, definitely.
Did they even qualify? I can't remember. I don't know if they even qualified. Anyway, I've got lists of players in front of me, and I guess we just start from between the sticks with the goalkeeper, which is probably the easiest position to pick. However, so I think we'd both say Pickford, Pope and Henderson, right? Now Henderson's come in as number one at Man United.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I do think Sam Johnson has had a good crack at it over the last couple of weeks, played really well, but not enough to persuade Southgate to probably put him in that squad.
Well, this is where things get interesting because Nick Pope needs a minor operation before the Euros. So it's not great. I don't know whether he's going to be fit. They're saying minor, so no one's ruled him out. But do you take Nick Pope, thinking worst case scenario, it's the third goalkeeper, the very unlikely to play anyway. He went to the tournament in 2018. He's probably quite a loud voice in amongst the group. Or do you take Sam Johnson and go, he's definitely fit just in case the worst happens?
I would still take Pope, I think. I think he's obviously had game time under Southgate. His kicking's a bit of an issue for me, which makes me think in my own mind, he'd be third choice. I still think Pickford, Southgate trusts him. I don't, but he'll start. But I also think Henderson's had a good run of it recently, and I do like Henderson. But those would be the three for me.
And you think he'll definitely take three. You need three, just in case.
Yeah,
Pickford, Pope, and Henderson. Let's write those in. Right. What position do you want to go to next? Do you want to go to the right backs, the left backs, or the centre backs?
Oh, it depends what system you're playing, Miles. What are we doing?
I think we start with the centre backs because I think Southgate's going to take 5.
Oh.
And he's going to play 3 at the back. That's why I think he's going to take 5. He's going to play 3 at the back. And this is not factoring in Cole Walker as a centre-back, potentially Reece James as the third centre-back, or even Declan Rice if things went really downhill. I think he will take 5 centre-backs. And I've written a list here, so I'll give you the players that I think he's got to pick from. Harry Maguire, again carrying an injury, Achilles tendon. Looks like he might not be fit for the first game, which is the hardest game of the group stage, typically when we need him for. John Stones, Connor Cody, Tyrone Mings, Eric Dyer, Michael Keane, and I've also added James Tarkowski and Fikayo Tomori in there because I think they both deserve to be in the recognition. They've both got England caps. And actually, I'm going to add Ezri Konsa in there as a real sort of wild card. Because again,
are you going to add Ben Godfrey in there as well? I think he's had a really good season.
Yeah, can do. He can be in the order. Well, right. Okay, so we'll add Ben Godfrey to that list as well. So there's quite a few to pick from. Straight away, John Stones is going. Right. Yeah. There's no question of that. So we can put him in. I'd say Tyrone Mings is probably going. Would you take him?
I wrote out a squad of 26 and he was nowhere near it for me. I do think he's partial to a mistake here and there. And it has been mentioned as well that if we do play a back three, I think even Luke Shaw could play the left side of the back three. And I think he's probably a more reliable player in that position.
Okay, then. Should we go to Connor Cody? Because you wouldn't take him either?
No, I wouldn't. Basically, I've got quite a mix. 26 that Southgate is never going to pick, but I'd love it.
I think we need to be a little bit Southgatey here and be slightly realistic because I'm pretty sure Southgate's going to pick all the players that I don't want to go. But one of Cody or Mings will be on that plane. Definitely.
They will, yeah.
But then I would probably take Fikayo Tomori above them. He's not been talked about much this season because he So in the first half of the season, Frank Lampard didn't rate him for whatever reason, but he spent the second half of the season playing very, very well in Italy. And the English style of football isn't necessarily the one that adapts best to international football, which is one of the reasons why England teams haven't done as well in the past. And Italian football probably is one of the styles of football you might say is maybe closest, slower build-up play. So he's played in that environment, played very well in that environment. AC Milan have qualified for the Champions League for the first time in ages with him playing at centre-back. He was an absolute behemoth against Cristiano Ronaldo and Juventus a couple of weeks ago. But I don't think he's going to. I don't think he's got a look in. But I wanted to mention him because I think he should.
I put him in my 26. I think, as you say, people who play abroad go under the radar a bit. I think Sancho's going under the radar again. He's playing brilliantly in Germany. And as you say, he's had a really good season at Milan. They've got into the Champions League for the first time in ages. And he's playing every week. And he's a good ball-playing centre-half, athletically strong. I would take him, 100%.
You take him. One player I wouldn't take is Michael Keane, but I think he'll go. I can't stand
No.
He does. The problem with Michael Keane is he does well for a few weeks for Everton around international breaks, gets in the England squad, and he's just, he's made San Marino look good almost. He's one of those players. He's just so he's just not at international level, and this is what we've got to think about here.
So who would be your 5 that you would take, and you think Southgate's going to take?
I wouldn't take Eric Dyer. You see, the thing with Eric Dyer is where the one thing that he brings to the table for me is his experience, his leadership. He's a leader in the dressing room. He's captained England. He was at that 2018 World Cup. So would he be one of those players who, there's a squad of 26, there's going to be a few don't play. Would you take him along for that? Potentially. But that's why Maguire still gets in for me, regardless of his injury. If he's going to miss the first game, as long as he's going to be fit for sort of that back end of the group stage, fully fit, I'd take him, because with the added 3 players in the 26, having him in the dressing room, Manchester United captain, has captained England again. One of the vocal leaders, was fantastic in Russia. I think you have to take Maguire. Stones and Maguire are the 2 I'm definitely taking. I would have said Joe Gomez, but he's not going to be fit. I think Konsa and Godfrey are good shouts, but again, I just don't see them taking the risk. At centre-back, I think they're more likely to take a risk further forward. Centre-back's not a position that you necessarily... And again, they did that with Maguire in Russia, didn't he? Just out of nowhere, brought him in and played him. It's...
I didn't realise Maguire was as injured as he is. I didn't realise he could miss a game. That changes quite a lot, because I obviously went for a youthful sort of 3rd and 4th choice, and that puts it on the back foot a little bit, because you've got to have someone.
Stones with 2 inexperienced centre backs.
Yeah.
So you've got to take someone with some experience. And for me, Conor Cody, vocal leader, he was great against Spurs a couple of weeks ago in a back 2, so he can do it. Conor Cody, we'll put him in.
I would, if you had to rate him, Mings, and a couple of other choices, he would be top of that list. Miles better than Keane as well. He would be a 3rd choice, definitely.
Yeah, I still think he's taking 2 more.
I think he's probably going to take Mings, and I reckon he will take either Tomori or Godfrey.
Who would you take?
I would take Tomori and Godfrey, but he's going to take Mings, and I reckon he's going to go for Godfrey, actually.
Ezri Konsa?
I think he's just going to miss out. He's had a great season, but I think he's going to miss out, unfortunately.
So, do we put Mings in?
I think he's going to go.
He likes him. He's been in every squad recently, and he's one of those players that hasn't done enough necessarily badly to get dropped, but has he done enough to be in? Is a different question. So we've got Stones, Maguire, Cody, Mings. Do you think 5 is right, or do you think he's going to take 4 of these centre-halves?
I would have said 4, and then Carl Walker can obviously play that role.
That's what I'm telling. I'm only taking 3 right-backs, because are you taking all 4 right-backs?
Oh, that's another question, isn't it? I was only going to take 3, and that included Carl.
Let's leave one of these spots, because it might come to us later. So let's leave a centre-half here and go to the right-backs. There's 5 to pick from, and I think it's going to take 3. Walker, Trippier, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Reece James, and very outside bet is Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Unfortunately, I think we can write Aaron Wan-Bissaka off. He's not been in an England squad. He's not had a look in, and you can't take every right back available.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. He would, as much as he's had a great season. We are so full of strength in that position. It's crazy. Who would be your go-to number one?
See, I want to say I know the popular choice is say Trent Alexander-Arnold, but it's just the big but for me with him, and I take him absolutely. I haven't been that impressed with him playing for England, and part of the reason for that is because he's playing at wing back, and I don't think it suits his game. He's better with he is good at overlapping from right back, but where you get the best from him is that deep line playmaker role, and as a wing back, there's not, and especially the way England play with the wide wingers in front, there's not the players to hit with those passes, and it nullifies his biggest strength, the wing back role. I wouldn't play wing backs personally. I don't like it for England, but realistically, that's what Southgate likes to do. I think Walker will be the third centre back. I would be very, very tempted to go with Reece James. I just think he does both best. He's very good defensively, and he could play in that three as well if he needed to. And offensively, he's threatening.
I don't disagree. That's the most contentious position that I really, really think Trent's going to miss out. I think he's going to miss out.
It wouldn't surprise me if he starts Trippier at right wing back. We've got to remember, again, under the radar, Trippier's just won La Liga, starting from
exactly.
It's not like there seems to be this stigma around Kieran Trippier that he had one bad year at Spurs in his last season, I'd say. But if you're talking about him for England, he's been relatively consistent for England. And again, at wing-back in the last World Cup, he was absolutely fantastic in both directions, forward and back. He'd be the one to miss out if I was picking the squad. But I just think Southgate's loyal to him. He loves him. He's made him his captain in recently as well. And you can't overlook these things. And Trent might miss out here. And it would be huge if he does. He's had an inconsistent season, but and I know it sounds really bad. I sort of understand it because for England, Trent Alexander-Arnold hasn't really set the world alight just yet. Not saying
I agree. Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think Trippier, he's going to go. As you say, he's won the league. He's playing in probably the best defensive team in Europe. He's well drilled. He's very good defensively. As you say, he can go forward, put in decent crossing. For me, he's going, and I think Reece James is going as well. I definitely think he's going better defensively, good going forward as well. Yeah, sorry, Trent.
We do the first thing where we're a bit Southgatey but we're a bit Southgatey, but we do having our own freedom and do make our three picks here. I think Kyle Walker's been brilliant this season and has to go because of versatility as well. So we'll go Kyle Walker. Agreed.
Yeah, 100%.
Reece James.
Yeah, 100%.
Should we pop Trent in?
If it was my personal squad, I would put him in 100% because he is quite versatile.
We both do that. Let's put him in. And again, this isn't like Kieran Trippier's rubbish. This is very unlucky. We're very well stacked in this position, and it's a great problem to have. But Trent is potentially lucky to be in there because he isn't necessarily suited to the system England will play. But if England play four at the back against one of the lower teams, he could get 4 assists. It's one of those games. Left backs. Now, one of the players I've put in at left back could also play further forward. So the names I've got are Ben Chilwell, Luke Shaw. I've put in Bukayo Saka as a left back, and Ainsley Maitland-Niles, because he's been in a squad recently, I don't see him going. I don't think he's done much for West Brom, and he's been playing in midfield. We could probably cross that out. And to be completely honest, I'm not even sure he's one for the future at this point for England. He's maybe had his cap, and that'll be that because he's just not kicking on.
No, agreed. I think all of those choices are very valid. As you say, Maitland-Niles, he's done okay for West Brom second half of the season. He hasn't really set the world alight. Obviously, he's played in midfield. I don't really know what his position is, to be honest. It's great to have someone like that, but he's not going for me, unfortunately. Saka's an interesting one because he's been mentioned on the radio over the last couple of days as an outside bet for the squad. He can play in multiple positions as well. He's a good shout.
I think he's going to go. With the 26 spots, I think he goes. I think Shaw and Chilwell are bankers. I think we put them both in straight away because they're going to be the left back, potentially left centre back and left wing back. But one of them will start. And if it were me at the moment, it would be Luke Shaw. So we'll put Shaw and Chilwell in. The big question is, do we put Saka in now, or do we pick some other positions, see what we've got left at the end, and see if we fit him in as a utility option? Because it's always good to have utility options, and he can play just about everywhere. Do I think he's good enough to start anywhere at the moment? No, not yet. Will he be in 4 years' time? Maybe even 2 years' time? I'm not saying he won't be, potentially. But right now, he would be there because he can cover a lot of positions, and he might not play.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. He's a good outside bet for the squad, as you say. Let's get more core players in, and then we'll come back to this conundrum of Saka.
Let's go into the centre of midfield. Now, this is a position I've sort of, I don't know, I've split it up probably differently to what maybe you haven't. So I've split it up to centre midfield, and then I've gone the attacking midfield / wingers, because I think that the way we're going to play, it's going to be a very fluid system. So centre midfield is the holding role. Two double pivot that I'm assuming Gareth Southgate will play, and then attacking midfield and wing are the wide players, and the number, if there's going to be a number 10, the number 10, and then I've got the forwards as the centre forward, effectively. So in centre midfield, players that I've put, and feel free to tell me if there's any that you think I should add to this. Declan Rice came back for West Ham, so he's fit, so I think he's going to be there. I've put Henderson there, Phillips, Jude Bellingham, Harry Winks, and James Ward-Prowse. These are the players that have been picked recently for England. I believe 4 of those 6 will be in this squad. And again, Henderson, similar to Maguire. When will he be fit? There's question marks again over the opening game, I think. But Klopp said a couple of weeks ago he should be fit for the Euros. We will make the end of the season. With the added 3 players, I take him because he's a vocal leader in the dressing room, and we need as many of those players as we can. Experienced head as well, played in the World Cup. This will be his second. Did he play in the last? I'm not even sure he played in the last year. I think he might have fallen out of favour. He might have been on the bench, but he was.
I don't think he did. No.
In around 2 World Cups. Very experienced player, Liverpool captain. I'd take him, and Rice straight away.
Yeah, for me, Declan Rice is the spine of this side. He's been absolutely sensational this season. I did see an interview on Sky with Jordan Henderson, who said he's back in training, and we do have 2 friendlies before the Euros start, so that gives me hope that he won't be too far away. Then after that, I agree. I think Calvin Phillips is going to go. I do like his range of passing. I do think at times he does get a little bit overawed, and it's a big shout for some of the games that we could have coming up.
Goes for one reason, and that is if Henderson's not fit and anything happens to Rice, he's just coming back from injury, he gets a niggle, Phillips is the one to go in, because he's been brilliant in the Premier League this year. However, a bit like Trent, when he's played for England, and maybe Michael Keane to some extent as well, when I've watched him for England, I found him to be quite slow on the ball and very untidy. I don't know if it's overall in the occasion. I don't know if it's a different style of football. I don't know if it's because he's playing in a double pivot, because he sort of plays in there by himself for Leeds, doesn't he? And everyone else just goes, and Phillips stands in the middle and sprays the passes, and that suits his game. Whereas the way England plays, I'm not sure does. But he needs to be there for cover. It's difficult, the last choice, because
obviously I know James Ward-Prowse has played in a couple of the last squads. He's scored. Sorry, mate. Yeah, he's got a bit of experience in there. For me, I'd take Jude Bellingham every day of the week. I think his performance against City in the Champions League for Dortmund was absolutely sensational. If he's doing it on that stage, he can do it at the Euros, 100%.
I want to rule Harry Winks out now. He's not been good for Tottenham this year, and fallen out of the squad. Ward-Prowse, for me, the one thing that he brings to this team is that delivery. Do rely on set pieces. But if we're taking Trent, and it's either going to be Trent or Trippier, you've got another player who can play those. Both of them are very, very good at dead balls. There are enough players in there. Surely Grealish, Mount can play them as well. If they go, he's got that. And I agree with you. Not only am I taking Bellingham, I'm starting Bellingham.
Well, that's a big call. I like it. It's a big call.
The reason I'm starting him is I look at some of these other young players. You think of Michael Owen bursting onto the scene in 1998. Wayne Rooney's best tournament for England was 2004, when he was 18, just turned 18. And part of that is because they're unencumbered by the failure, the fear of failure. They haven't failed at a tournament before. They haven't made that mistake. They haven't gone out. And Bellingham, right now, one, you can tell he's not overawed by an occasion. Every game he plays, he steps up. In the last couple of England games, when he came on, I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. Thrust, drive. Also, England have been so bogged down in that midfield when we play Rice and Henderson or Rice and Phillips or Phillips and Henderson, because we don't have. So they're too similar. They're too similar as players. Bellingham can drive forward. He can pick up the ball. He's a deep-lying midfielder that's different to the others, and that's why I take him. I take him all day long, and I
also like the fact I think in some games we're going to have to keep the ball, which has always been an issue for an England side throughout the last 20 years, to be honest. We've never had players who are comfortable enough to just look after the ball, take the sting out of the game, and he's one of those who I think can do that. Obviously, we'll go on to further forward players who could also do that a lot better, but he's one of those I do like.
And he can do it from deep, though, and that's what we need. We need someone who can take the ball off the defence, who can do it in the deep areas, just keep it simple. And yeah, I'm starting Bellingham. I know it's a big call, but I don't see why not. If he's, you know what they say, if you're good enough, you're old enough. And this season, he's been good enough. Right. Attacking midfielders and wingers. There's a lot of players to choose from here. Sterling, Phil Foden, Jadon Sancho, Marcus Rashford, Jack Grealish, Mason Mount, Ross Barkley, Dele Alli, Jesse Lingard, James Maddison, and Callum Hudson-Odoi have all been picked. Hudson-Odoi hasn't played enough for Chelsea. He's not done enough this season. And again, he's at a big risk of being left behind by other players coming up and overtaking him already. And he's only had a cap or two. Yeah,
no, I don't disagree. I think you look at it and you go, wide sides, Foden will probably start one side for me. I think he's been brilliant. Probably Sterling the other. Then you've obviously got Sancho's backup. You've got Rashford as backup. And then it's the central midfield boys. I think you've got Grealish, Mount. And then it's, who else do you want to put in that squad for me?
I reckon we start with the people who I think are definitely going to go. And we can name, of those, I think there's 4 that definitely go. And that is Raheem Sterling, Phil Foden, Marcus Rashford, and Mason Mount. All 4 of them are definitely going. And I think we can put them in straight away. Yeah?
Yeah, don't disagree with that.
So, Raheem... I don't know what I'm writing his first name. Sterling first, then
Sterling, Foden,
Rashford, Mason Mount.
Yeah.
All of those are definitely going. And now's where it gets very interesting, because it depends the combination you're taking with centre forwards as well. Because are we going to take 3 centre forwards? So if we take 3 centre forwards, there's only room for. There's room for 5 players. 6.
Right.
Okay. 6 if we're taking another centre back, actually. So 6 players left to pick. There's Jack Grealish and Jadon Sancho.
I think they're shoo-ins, mate. I genuinely think they're shoo-ins. 100%.
Is done well though, and this is Southgate, who's, to be fair to Lingard, last time Southgate said he's only in there because of injuries, but he didn't do too badly, and he's done well going forward for West Ham, and he is a Southgate-style player.
To be, as you say, he's never let England down when he plays. He's had a blinding second half of the season at West Ham. I wouldn't take him. I think Sancho's been so good for Dortmund this year that I think I've kind of listened to quite a lot of European podcasts, and they're just shocked that he's kind of mentioned as potentially not even going. They're just baffled by it. Because he's that good. I think you've got to take him, 100%.
Do we take Sancho?
Definitely.
Grealish. I'd find a way to start Grealish. My only worry with Grealish is there's Grealish and Foden. I'd want to find a way to start them both. You can't not play Sterling, but also with Harry Kane's propensity to drop in to get the ball, is that enough pace in behind? There's a lot of cogs, isn't there? Moving that you need to work in tandem.
There's a lot of players there who come towards the ball instead of trying to stretch back 4. That's the biggest problem.
And that's where they might end up starting Rashford. it might be that Rashford and Sterling start and they leave Foden and Grealish for the bench. You never know.
Yeah, no, I can see that.
Because I can't see him not starting Mason Mount. And Mason Mount might play a bit deeper as well. It's tricky. It's tricky. Right, centre forwards. It's like Rashford. Maybe Rashford will be one of the centre forwards. Maybe Sterling will be one of the two centre forwards if he plays with a two, so to speak, or if he plays in the midfield three with the back three. And yeah. You're so glad I'm not England manager at this point. It's very difficult. The phone calls you'd have to make to let people down would be very hard.
It's nice to have all these options that are really, really top quality footballers. There's no Darius Vassell trying to get into a squad. There's no rubbish. We are full of real quality.
The players who Darius Vassell was playing in front of. Darius Vassell was starting ahead of Robbie Fowler for whatever reason. Jermaine Defoe was doing well back then, but they picked Vassell. It was, it didn't always make sense. Right, so centre forwards, I have got on my list Harry Kane, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Ollie Watkins, Danny Ings, Callum Wilson, Tammy Abraham, Mason Greenwood, and the potential wild card pick in Patrick Bamford. Because if you're going on goals scored more than Dominic Calvert-Lewin this season. He's the second highest English goal scorer in the league. This could be a case of like Ian Wright being left out when you've scored more goals than others because you've not been in the squad before necessarily, or you just don't fit the style. Because the two I'm taking, of course, Harry Kane. You have to. He's the best centre forward in the world. Lewandowski fans will say what they want, but Kane's better. And I'm probably taking Calvert-Lewin because he offers something completely different.
I don't disagree. Those are the two. It's then whether do you go for a third or would you play a Rashford or so? I personally think about Greenwood. It's a bold choice, but do we need a Calvin Wilson? Do we need a Bamford? I don't think we do.
Ollie Watkins is the one that I'd be tempted to take.
You reckon?
Tammy Abraham, I'm ruling out, even though I actually think Tammy Abraham's a great shout because Southgate keeps picking him, even though he never plays. Didn't even get on the bench for the FA Cup final. Pretty much sums up how the second half of his season's gone. Do you take Greenwood for the experience, or do you look at the here and now and want players who are going to do it now instead of constantly every England squad? You've got to look to the future. It's like, well, there's got to be a point where you actually go, no, we've got to win. We've got to win this one. So if we're always looking at the next one, we're never going to win one. So.
It's difficult. It obviously depends what system do you want. Are you going to play two up? Are you going to play one up? It's very difficult because if it's one, Kane is going to start every single game without fail.
Kane starts every game. It's just, the reason you pick Calvert-Lewin is because if it's 1-1 or you're 1-0 down with 15 to go, you chuck him on because he'll win everything in the air and you start going long. And I hate that teams don't do it anymore and they still try and play it on the ground. With 10 minutes to go, if you need a goal, start popping it up there and having people run onto the knockdown.
Yeah, definitely.
It works. You just do it. So that's why Calvert-Lewin goes for me. I don't know, because if Kane's ankles go, if Kane gets injured, do you think just Calvert-Lewin and Marcus Rashford are enough, especially if they're playing a system with potentially two up? Do you need Watkins or Greenwood or Ings?
I wouldn't. I really won't. I feel sorry for all these footballers who've had really good seasons, but I would go with those two and either have Rashford up front or take Greenwood. I'd definitely take Greenwood. He's been great back end of the season for United.
I'm tempted to take Greenwood as well.
Yeah, I would definitely.
Mason Greenwood, given the experience, and to be honest, another one who, if push came to shove and Mason Greenwood got through, I think he'd score.
Yeah, no, agreed. His composure and his ability at finishing is just fantastic. As you say, if you had him and maybe Watkins going through, I know who I think would score.
Yeah, well,
Watkins.
Watkins. Green will go get 1-on-1. Right, we've got one more position to fill, and for me, it's a choice between a centre back and Bukayo Saka.
So how many have you got in the squad? 25.
25 so far.
There's one place up for grabs.
We take a fifth centre back in thinking that we're probably going to play back three. I don't see Southgate playing two fullbacks in the centre back positions. I think it'll be at least two proper centre halves on the pitch, and that counts for Kyle Walker as well, not being a proper centre half. So at least two of Stones, Maguire, Cody Mings at the moment will be on the pitch. Maguire has fitness issues. do you pick another centre-back just in case, or do you pick Bukayo Saka, who can fill in at left wing-back if needed, who can play in one of the 4 positions? Although I look at the 4 positions and I think Sterling, Foden, Rashford, Mount, Grealish, Sancho, all getting ahead of him at the moment. And this isn't to discredit how good he's been this season. He's been fantastic. I just think the way the pecking order is, and actually the quality of those players right now in those areas, they getting ahead. So it's a question really between either Saka and a Keane, Tomori, Konsa, Godfrey, or Tarkowski, or even Eric Dyer, because Eric Dyer might be picked just for his leadership.
Because do you think the biggest thing? How many times do you reckon we're going to play three at the back in the tournament? First game we will. Scotland, we should not be playing three at the back against Scotland. I'm sorry.
Against everyone in the lead up.
That's my biggest issue. I don't think we should be doing that.
This is where I don't know if you watched the video of Rio Ferdinand picking his squad with Glenn Hoddle, and Glenn Hoddle actually put Raheem Sterling at left wing back with Luke Shaw, I believe, at left centre back, and said that you still play that back 3, but when you get Sterling to cheat almost, and it's almost playing as a 4. So I think that Southgate's going to pick a system and stick to it, and I don't hate that. As much as you can say we shouldn't play it against this team, we shouldn't play it against that team, you can play different players in the system. So you could, against Scotland, maybe that's the game where you stick Shaw on one side and Walker on the other and leave Maguire in there and have the team pushing forward.
And also, importantly, in front of that, if you get to a team like Scotland or someone going to dominate the ball, for me, it's Rice and Mount. It's not Rice and let's stick someone else defensive. Let's go for it.
Exactly. So do you have the extra cover with the thirds? So
it's going to be a centre half, mate, isn't it?
To put Saka in almost in a Greenwood, the same reason I'm putting Greenwood in, because I think if it came to it and he had to play very well, but him being there for the tournament could be good going forward.
I think the thing that worries me is that Go on.
Is Saka ever going to be first choice for England? That is a genuine question right now, because you look at the players there's players in there that are his age who we're definitely picking. Sancho, Foden.
He is another one though who's not really nailed down a spot. So where the hell do you play him? Because he's not a fullback. He's great going forward, but
that's maybe why you do take him, because he can sort of do everything, can't he?
Yeah, but do you take a Tyrone Mings?
Well, we've already got Mings in there.
Yeah, we take him.
This is the hardest spot to fill, because this is where people miss out, isn't it?
I think we'd take a centre half.
We can't put in Trippier. We can't put in a fourth right back. I'm refusing to put in a fourth right back.
I think we'd take a centre half, mate, just due to the fact Maguire's not fit.
Or here's another one, Ward-Prowse instead.
I feel like we're going to be all right central midfield, because I think in games we're going to have to.
If Rice goes down injured and you've got Henderson, Rice is just coming back from injury. Henderson's out injured at the moment. Could he be back? And then it just leaves Phillips and Bellingham. Yeah.
Do you take Eric Dyer because he can play in 2 positions?
Yeah, but not good.
But he's got that experience. He can sit at the base of the midfield.
Mason Mount could come back in. I don't take it. I don't think Eric Dyer deserves it.
No, not do I.
So I think John Stones could do that. Yeah,
no, agreed. Definitely. Oh my God. I'd go for
take Tomori.
I would. That's what I was going to say. I'll go for a centre half who would love the experience of being at a big tournament, can step in when needed. Yeah. And
Saka's the unlucky player.
And he'll be fine.
He'll be fine. So
I'll give him a pat on the back. He'll be fine.
Do you want me to read it out in full?
Yeah, go on then.
When it changes. So goalkeepers: Pickford, Pope, and Henderson. Centre back: Stones, Maguire, Cody, Mings, and Tomori. Right backs: Walker, James, and Trent. Left back: Shaw and Chilwell. Centre midfield: Rice, Henderson, Phillips, and Bellingham. We've got Sterling, Foden, Rashford, Mount, Sancho, and Grealish as the sort of the attacking midfield winger sort of areas, and they fit multiple systems. And then Kane, Calvert-Lewin, and someone else who could, I guess, play on the wing, but we'll put in as a centre forward is Mason Greenwood. Are you happy with that?
I think the only player I've just kind of thought about was Maddison, but I wouldn't take him.
He's not done it. He's got injured. He's not played well second half of the season. And my problem with Maddison is he keeps seeming to get himself in trouble with COVID stuff, and we don't need that tournament. So, unfortunately, but he's not done it. Not done it. Yeah. All right, that's it. We'll come back next week, or maybe even later on this week, actually, and we'll review the picks that Southgate makes. We'll see how different they are. I'll save these, see how much different they are. Please put your squad selections in the comments. Make sure you let us know where you think we've made a complete balls up, or you think we've left someone out who should go, or you think we've picked someone who definitely shouldn't go. Let us know in the comments. This has been Pub Football. We're looking forward to staying with you throughout the Euros as the Premier League season's finished. And there's just less games to cover. It's much easier, isn't it? Anyway, one thing left to say. Forgotten about this.
Come on, England.
Cheers. And come on, England.
Cheers.